Hello, my name is Caleb Warden, and today I'm going to be going over Calcium Overdrive, the newest version of it here. Accidentally opened the zip here. Go ahead and start up the game. Alright. Going into the story mode, so I was the level designer for levels 1, 4, and 5. So we'll go ahead and play through level 1. I actually have 2 Jira tasks for level 1 here. I'll go over them here. So, after playing through one of the builds, level 1 parkour 3 was too dark. Expected results, we wanted it to be lit. Actual results, it was very dark, pretty much blacked out. Pretty severe since players couldn't see any area of the of the wall runs or any other obstacles. It took about 35 minutes for me to go through and light it and make sure that the lighting was non-obtrusive or it wasn't going to pretty much make the player stop in their tracks. It wasn't going to lag their game out. Another thing that we ran into was the intro level skybox was not rendering properly in the recent builds. This took me about 14 minutes. Still though, I believe it's still broken, so that should probably actually be moved into the in progress, the to-do. There we go. Just because we later found that it wasn't the, here, I'll start it up. We later found that it wasn't necessarily the skybox. I would do my own builds and it would be fine in my builds, but then for anyone else that opened the build, it would pop up kind of like this, how it's shown in the level currently. So we're kind of just going to work through that. We get our first intro tutorial here for the wall run. Jump, run, move forward, and strafe into the wall. Alright. First little area. If you fail here, there's a little fail safe. So it's a nice, easy area for the player to practice their wall runs without feeling like they're going to lose health constantly from failing. There we go. Another small area here to practice the wall runs. This time it's more of a descending wall run. That way the players don't feel like they have to constantly use their upward momentum for the wall runs, because that'll come in a little bit later in the game. It's a little bit more difficult. Okay. Alright, going past Combat 1, now we're into Combat 2 here. I'll show you the issue in Combat 3. A lot around here you can see the little lamps helping the lighting. That's a lot of what I did in Combat 3. Or Parkour 3, my bad. I'm saying Combat 3, like that was where the lighting issue was. Here we go. Going up here, we're passing through Combat 2 now. Got little skeletons over here. Kill him, kill these guys. This level's supposed to be the easier, the kind of the intro tutorial level for players to practice all their basic wall runs, learning about curved wall runs, kind of getting the feel for the movement and the flow of the game. Not too many enemies, making it so that it's not not overly difficult for the player, but still having enemies so they can keep their multiplier if they want right here. They can not worry about the multiplier. They can run by all the enemies if they want. There's a lot of different opportunities based on the player's play style. There you go. Nice. Nice little heavy attack right there. Slice him up. And then we can also do the ultimate attack. Nice. Which I'll actually go ahead and go through the Jira task for real quick. Because the ultimate attack, so the ultimate attack didn't do damage to the boss. Originally we wanted the ultimate attack to do damage to the boss, as well as not counting any ultimate attack. Ultimate attacks is counting towards the ultimate attack. So every time the player would get a kill with the sword, they should increment it and it should go up to the next level. So if you get a kill, 1 kill, 2 kills, until you get to 10, then you unlock your ultimate attack, and the ultimate attack was counting towards that. So I fixed that with this, and then this also changes with this bug, I also fixed the boss taking damage. So now every time the boss is hit with it, they'll be stunned and it'll deal 500 damage. So I'll show you that here in level 4. So we'll get into level 4. I'll quit back to the main menu. We'll go into the level select and start up Lower Palace. Again, my name is Caleb Warden, and I am the game designer, level designer, gameplay designer, animator, etc., for Silver Dragon Studios, the creator of level 4 and level 1, level 5 of Calcium Overdrive. Right here, back here, we have a little skip that the players can use. If they use their ghost vision, they can see that this is a fake wall, as well as that, a little wall leading over there. But we'll just take you on the main path this go around. Alright, going up here. A little windstorm taking the player up. Going to the first wall run. There we are. Taking the player over to this area. Something that we dealt with in one of the earlier builds that I later changed was the chains collision. The chains were a little bit clunky and made it a little bit difficult for players to keep their momentum and not having to worry about. Ooh, here we go. A little heavy attack. A little popcorn there. It makes it so the players don't have to worry about jumping onto the chains or colliding with it and going off to the side. Now the players just have to worry about kind of walking over the chains. Going the basic route. To the left there's another, there's a more difficult route, a skip here. If the player wants to chain all their grapples, you can kind of see the route that it goes, chaining from there all the way up, then back up there, then across. Alright. We'll just take the basic route. This is just the golden path here. If players fall down as well in this area, right where that the little dome is there, under there's a little pathway that leads the players onto a rooftop, over to another island, and can lead them back into this same exact area. Kind of like a small little failsafe for the players. Alright. Using this. You can also see the little wisp ahead of us. Cal, if you will. That's Cal, the player character's skull, leading you. Grapple up here. Oop. I missed both of those. Not a MLG pro here today. Running through here. Had to relight this area as well. This area turned out to be really dark during the builds. Also, if you'd watched a previous video of this level, you would notice that the buildings themselves used to just be a rough. It was just a rough cut from these lips. Oops. So it'd just be a straight up vertical bar there instead of this little ramp. I added these ramps into all the buildings to ensure that players don't have to worry about walking into that lip. There we go. A little push in here. Got some of these lanterns lighting up the main pathways here to help guide the players. Go onto the soul stream. And this time around, you don't want to fall into the lava. I promise you, it'll kill you. It's nothing to joke around about here. I fixed the Coliseum gate to now have a regular box mesh. Here we go. We'll just straight up try to tank the Necromancer and kill him here. With one fatal swoop, we'll do the ultimate attack on him. There we go, and that should stop him for a second. We see that cutscene. Hopefully we don't get hit with a projectile. We're gonna go into the. Oh, we made it barely. I saw a projectile whiz right by my face. All right, and now I'm gonna go ahead and continue. Actually, let me grab one of the gear tasks for this. So various collisions needed adjusted in level 4. I spent about an hour and 40 minutes on this. Like I was saying, it's the chain, the buildings. I fixed those. Made it so that pretty much the player didn't have to worry about jumping onto the chains. The chains were just really clunky, so I adjusted the collision on them and pretty much went into the editor in the level and made it so that the collision wasn't popping out too much, wasn't at too high of an angle that the player couldn't traverse it while walking. There's the collision. I showed you the ultimate attack dealing damage to the boss and kind of stopping the boss in his tracks there. So that's about all the bugs that I worked on. The playtesting, I spent about 7 hours, 5 minutes playtesting. Throughout the playtests, I dealt with a lot of just various fixes for the heavy attack, lighting, just anything that we found in the builds that wasn't proper. It wasn't the way it should be. Adding the level spline through level 4. As you can see, Cal was kind of following us, or was showing us the way here. All that we needed to do was get the level spline or level guide throughout the whole golden path of the level. It took me about 36 minutes to do this. Added some more some more guidance to the parkour section 2 where the grapples are. By doing that, I just added some lighting, turned the lamps to kind of point in the right direction so that the player could see them and kind of subconsciously know that they need to go pointed towards the lamp. Parkour 3 has player guidance. Again, used a lot of the lamps in this. Put that lava down so the player didn't feel like they could go through the middle of the Parkour 3, kind of where the Coliseum is. So that took me about 46 minutes. Other than that, that's about all I did touching on the lower palace level. The intro level, I added that spline again, the level guide. That took me about 26 minutes, and as you can see in the intro level, he kind of showed us the way throughout the whole thing there. Going into level 5. Level 5 is the level that I made this sprint. So the user story, as a player, I wanted a final level that would challenge the core mechanics taught throughout the culmination of my run. So everything from levels 1 through 4. I want chain grapples, I want regular grapples, wall runs, chain wall runs, windstorms, a little bit of everything so that the player can have a summative experience. The things introduced here, nothing is introduced. There's practice and mastery of the final boss. Again, the final boss will need to be tweaked in level 4. Level 4's final boss isn't the final, I would say the final version of him. I believe it's going to be a spawner boss that's going to spawn characters, spawn little skeletons, the melee skeletons, and ranged enemies. Okay, so the level design, the description, it should be a gothic, hellscape, volcanic, kind of some warm tones. The player starts at a broken, dilapidated staircase leading to a main doorway of a massive palace. Upon entering the palace, the player will be guided through a variety of obstacles, enemy barricades, etc. The end of the level should lead the player to the main chambers of the palace, where there is a final boss fight between the necromancer and the player. Okay. So the start, the player should spawn in front of a portal, be in front of this broken, dilapidated staircase, this massive staircase pretty much leading up to a palace. Low difficulty pathway leading up to Parkour 1. Parkour 1 should be basic parkour movement, mechanics utilized. It should pretty much be a warm-up, using the skills that the players learn from levels 1 through 4. Easy to medium difficulty parkour obstacles. I put some obstacles to kill the player, but honestly, there's really none. It's unless the player's falling constantly, they probably won't die in Parkour 1 or alternative Parkour 1, just so that they don't get frustrated early on in the level. Oops. And then going into alternative Parkour 2. Alternative is just a faster path for Parkour 1. Combat section 1 is just kind of goes through the list of all the different enemies and encounters that will be taking place. So you can see there's a first encounter by some spiral staircases, a second encounter on the second story, a third encounter past that. That's leading to the first or the second parkour area. And in this, there's multiple platforms that the player has to traverse. Then going into Parkour 2, says that it's a medium to hard difficulty parkour obstacles, medium intensity. Another alternative Parkour 2 path, Combat 2, etc. Combat 2 is structured the same way as Combat 1, just showing the different encounters, the different amount of enemies that you're going to be encountering there, and I believe Combat 2 is actually a large spiral staircase. So this is a fight up a large tower. The player will climb 2 stories while fighting melee and ranged enemies, bomber enemies. The as I started making Combat Section 2, I decided to break it up into a lower section and a upper section. The lower section, if the player stops early in Combat 2, they can continue through to combat or to Parkour 3. But if they go through the higher section, the upper section of Combat 2, they have a faster alternative route through Parkour 3, so it can kind of expedite their run. Depending on how fast they can get past the upper part on Combat 2, they should be able to have a pretty significant skip in there. Again, Parkour 3 is just showing that it's a medium hard parkour, many obstacles, small skips, but no long skips / alternative paths, which again I had changed later on in while I was making this just for some flow purposes, since it made a little bit more sense to have the player continue going up for Combat 2. Going into the boss fight is this is the first basic boss encounter, so we didn't want it to be too difficult. This boss path was going to have a total of 4 different paths. I actually did around 3 different paths, which was how this says a mix between the balcony and the lower. I just pretty much combined the mix between the balcony and the lower. So it's a path that's in the upper part of the boss area, path that's in the lower part, and then a path that is half in the lower part, half in the upper part. The completion time should be about under a minute, give or take. You know, not saying that it always has to be under a minute, but saying that it should probably be somewhere close to it. Alright. And then the level end, after the boss dies, the portal should spawn on the boss. Again, just goes through some of the enemies, traps, points of interest, design philosophies. The 2D sketch maps weren't in this version. I believe that they were in the Confluence page. It should be. Yeah. So various sketch maps, some that aren't in here yet, and then the 2D refined map just isn't in the documentation yet. Okay. Closing out of this, I'm going to go ahead and play through it now. So we're going to continue. Again, my name is Caleb Warden, and I am the level designer for level 5 that we're going to be playing right here, which is the Necromancer's Palace, the final level to Calcium Overdrive, the kind of our alpha here. Alright, so we're just going to take the main path. Off to the right, you can see those grapple points. Those will be leading the player up into the alternative Parkour 2, or alternative Parkour 1, my apologies. Going up here, we're going to grapple this. If players don't make the grapple appropriately, they won't get the proper height. To get the grapple appropriately, you kind of need to sit a little under it. Ooh. maybe a little bit more under it. Here we go. There we go. Maybe raising it up a little bit will definitely solve that for newer players that try to hit it straight away. This broken staircase makes the player have to jump and avoid these little cracks in the staircase. There we go. And then using this grapple point is necessary to get over that little ledge. Coming into Combat 1 here, we see the 2 broken staircases, half spiral staircases leading in. Oh. Oh, I didn't even see the melee guy. There you go. This is technically the harder of the battle. Oh, that just took me right off the edge. This is the harder of the paths just because it utilizes a grapple, whereas the other one's just mainly a mantle path. Oh, that didn't harpoon, or I'm saying harpoon. I'm meaning to say grapple. I play a lot of Sea of Thieves. I'm used to using harpoon when I'm thinking of like a grapple ability. All right, slashing up all these enemies. This is the second encounter in Combat 2 or Combat 1. There. Killing him there. Players can use various wall runs on that side or this side to get past here. If they utilize their multiplier as well, they can easily get past these areas a lot quicker. Pressing that, the player is able to grapple that and continue up this staircase. This is the intro to combat or parkour 2. Right here, that little ghost path will be the skip for parkour 2. So if players decide to go and skip this, they can grapple up here or grapple this and jump over here, and you've got your skip. I'll go ahead and go with the main path though, since we want to see the golden path in this. Here we go. And then maybe I'll go through the taking us through the spirit path. Maybe I'll go through the second alternative routes in another little run here. Slashing through these enemies. Another grapple. Whoop. Another grapple, another area to fall off. Grapple point should take you up to this. This should lead the player's eyes up a little bit more, and they should hit this grapple point and be able to track themselves to this first little branching area. As you can see, a lot of enemies here. This should probably signify that we're in Combat 2. So, another grapple point going up here. Up from, oh, there's a melee character there that I didn't see. So, we could either go up this route and continue to go on Combat 2 and go the upper route, or we can just go the lower route here. And the lower route will be a little bit longer in Parkour 3, but, you know, quicker to get out of Combat 2. So they both have their trade-offs. It's depending on the player's play style and how they want to go about it. There we go. Going across to another tower here. A little windstorm that just blows the player down so that they don't have to just free fall here. And then going into the combat area, the first boss area, you can see he's teleporting to small zones. He goes away. And where to? We just wait for the boss to pop out, and there he is. And you can see the two different layers to this. There's a lower layer and an upper layer. There we are. And the boss path should be at random, so if the boss is, while the boss is traveling, when he teleports, he'll just start on a random path. And it's usually noticeable based on where his, there we go. It's usually noticeable based on where his teleport was, where his, ooh, ooh. Oh lord. There we go, this is the lower path. Try not to die here. Try to hit him from far. No, we got him down to, he was one hit, we were one hit. Oh no. That was close, but that's alright. We'll go through the secondary paths this go around and actually kill him this go. Something that we noticed in the boss fight was that players were struggling to keep health. So something that will definitely need to change later on. Oh, lord. Looks like those grapple points didn't take us to that location. Something that'll need to change later on is definitely the boss fight having more health for the player. There we go. This is the first alternative path. So the player can go. Gonna dash over here. Kind of skips all those stairways, so that if the player doesn't like the stairs and doesn't like jumping too much for that, then they don't have to worry about it too much. Okay. This little area, we can jump up here and mantle this. And we're just not even going to worry about half these enemies. We're just going to skip by them. And fall in the lava. We'll just run by all these enemies. There we go. Skip all those. And then use this area, go up here. We'll go ahead and use that skip for this. A little dark through here. Should be a little bit more lit. But the player should be able to get to this little mantle ledge. After it's lit, it should be a little bit more clear of that area. And then after they get through these mantles, if you press this, you'll see that this is just a fake wall. And the player can go back up through here using the grapple points. That kind of cuts a little bit of the roundabout way that the player has to go to get to this area. Well, dash back here, save ourselves. We'll go up to Combat 2. Slice through all these guys so we don't have to worry about them too much. There we go. Nice. And then from Combat 2, if we wall run all the way up here, there we go. We can grapple ourselves all the way over here, almost set harpoon again. There we go. And then a little windstorm should push us out to this little podium, and another windstorm should knock us down to this floor, to the boss fight. Again, going into the boss fight. Looks like he spawned up top this time around. Alright. Maybe running over this way to stop him. Using your ultimate ability as well. Oh! He swerved me. He swerved me, no! I wasted my ultimate. Using the ultimate on him should actually stop him in his tracks. Here, we'll wait for him. Hopefully he'll spawn down here this next time around. Yeah, there we go. We'll just tank him. Adding some health into this final boss area will definitely increase the player's ability to finish this boss fight. And we'll hit him from far to finish it out. We get that little bit of time dilation, letting the player know that they just finished this. A little bit of sound feedback will be coming in the future, of course. And we walk into the little portal to finish it out. And that is level 5. That's the Necromancer's Palace. Overall, that should be it for it. Let me go ahead and pull up the GR tasks again. For the Necromancer's Palace, I blocked this into a few different subtasks here. So there's a Parkour 2 section, as we can see there's a boss fight with multiple paths, which there was, starting staircase section, and Alternative Path 1, Combat 1, Parkour 3, Alternative Path 2, which we used in that second go, an end section, which comes when the Necromancer dies at the end of the boss fight, and the portal teleports. Parkour 1, Combat 2, and there are checkpoints before every major action block. So there should be checkpoints and kill volumes that the player can utilize if, per se, they miss an obstacle and they fall to their death. They should respawn at a checkpoint. So that should be it for all of the Necromancer stuff. I spent about 2 days, 4 hours, 31 minutes total logged in on this. About 1 hour, 39 minutes for Parkour 2. Here, let me do these by. Let me organize this real quick, and I'll go through all of them. So for start, it took me about 52 minutes. Alternative Parkour 1 took me about 19. It was pretty quick, just tossing in the grapple points. Parkour 2 was about an hour 39 minutes. Combat 1 took me about 3 hours and 32 minutes, just because I was honestly modeling a lot of the face of the structure for Combat 1 and trying to get the lighting proper. The boss fight took me about 4.5 hours, 4 hours 39 minutes, just because I had to go through all of the logic of the boss fight and make sure that the logic was proper and it was going to work well, as well as putting the splines for the pathing for the boss. Parkour 3 took me about 2 hours 7 minutes, just trying to get all the grapples, make sure everything was properly lined up. Alternative Parkour 2 took me about an hour and 27 minutes, just for blocking off areas, making that snake path to the next area, making sure that it was popping out the player out of the right area, making sure that it was accessible as well. The end section only took me about 33 minutes, since I just had to make sure that the logic for the portal teleporting was proper. Parkour 1 took me about 2 hours and 5 minutes, since a lot of it was getting the stairs and making it so that the stairs had that kind of broken feel to them, as well as a lot of lighting. Combat 2 took me about 1 hour 58 minutes, mainly because I was testing between how the player would flow going upwards and how new players would be able to access all of these different areas. Checkpoints took me about 28 minutes to go through the whole map, put checkpoints. And then kill volumes took me about 52 minutes to make sure everything was blocked out. There were kill volumes where they needed to be, no areas where the player could jump down and there wasn't a kill volume under them. Other than that, that's all the Necromancer's Palace, and I believe that's all that I attributed to in this sprint. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you.